Are you ready for convention number 2? On Monday, 45,000 delegates, party officials, and journalists, volunteers will descend on the Twin Cities as the Republicans officially crown Senator John McCain the party's nominee. This is a preview of the Republican National Convention tonight on Voice of Reason. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special edition of our program, Election 2008. I'm Larry Kane. Beginning tomorrow night or Monday night around this time, you'll be watching live coverage at 8 o'clock to 11 every night. Lynn Doyle anchoring in Philadelphia. Robert Trainham and I will be in St. Paul. We have a panel of experts here as we preview the Republican National Convention. In our Washington, D.C. studios, Mike Inganamort is the political director of the Republican Leadership Council. Mike has served in a number of political campaigns, Republican Party post in New Jersey and the nation's capital. Sean Smith is well known to us. He's the Pennsylvania Communications Director for Senator Barack Obama, a veteran of a lot of Democratic campaigns, including serving as the Nevada Communications Director on the Kerry Edwards campaign and 4 years ago, and as campaign manager on Senator Joe Lieberman's 2006 re-election campaign, which was very interesting. And Dr. James Hilty is a history professor at Temple University, quite an expert in the history of American politics and also Robert Kennedy's life. He's written some incredible work on that. Thank you for joining us this evening. First of all, from Washington, Mike, are you pumped up about this convention? We can't talk about the vice presidential nominee because, unfortunately, we had to tape this prior. So right. let's talk about this convention. Do you think it's poised and ready for the right kind of show in St. Paul?
I think it is. We're looking forward to getting out there to Minnesota. It's going to be a great time. All members of the party from all across the country are going to be gathering in Minnesota this fall. Just the second time that state has held a Republican convention. And we're hoping that it will lead to a victory for Senator McCain. But ultimately, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Senator McCain to lay out his agenda for the country, his vision for the country, one of low taxes, limited government, a strong defense, energy opportunities.
Are you worried about Monday night? Monday night is probably the most difficult night of the convention because, without disparaging them individually, this is a political reality. President Bush and Vice President Cheney will be speaking at the convention.
Sure. Well, look, President Bush, the sitting president, he has a lot to add to this debate. On all of the issues the candidates are talking about, President Bush is intimately involved with these issues. So I think he'll have a lot to say about it, whether it's international issues, what's going on in Iraq, or the situation between Russia and Georgia. He has a lot to add to that discussion. Of course, Senator McCain is going to lay out his own agenda for the country. In some ways, it will be similar. In many ways, it will be different. But it'll be interesting to hear from President Bush, as well as Senator McCain, Governor Schwarzenegger. Yeah. We're going to have a whole lineup of speakers there.
Sean Smith, you've been around the block here in our region and in New England, where we were on the air there. I know you're hoping for a bad Republican convention. We know that. But what do you see as the greatest danger coming out of the Republican convention for the Obama campaign?
Well, we're looking forward to seeing President Bush speak on behalf of John McCain on Monday night. I would like to know actually what those positions that are different that John McCain has than what George Bush has been giving us the last 8 years.
You want to offer something on that, Mike?
Sure do. Absolutely. I think when it comes to energy independence, Senator McCain is very serious about that issue. He has an all-of-the-above approach to energy policy. That includes renewables, new technologies, biofuels, things like that.
But let's get but is that similar or not?
Well, I mean, John McCain voted with George Bush 95% of the time in the Senate. He is the highest rating of any member of Congress, any member of the Senate in terms of voting for George Bush's policies. We're going to hear a lot of rhetoric from John McCain and how he's going to be different, but the truth is John McCain, George Bush, they're passing the torch on Monday night symbolically. In every way, shape, or form, John McCain has 4 more years of George Bush.
So are Republicans going to be holding your ears on Monday night, or just walking away from that, or hoping that what will their message be? Are they going to have the right-wing ideological message of the Republican Party, or the independent maverick message of John McCain?
Well, this is John McCain's convention, and the message out of the convention will be John McCain's. Again, on the issues where Senator McCain may differ with the president, it's about controlling spending in Washington. That's been out of control for 8 years. Senator McCain is serious about controlling spending. That's why he's one of only a handful of senators to have 0 earmarks for his home state. Can't say the same about Senator Obama. That's an example where John McCain not only differs with the president, but differs with almost every other member of Congress.
We have a distinguished professor, Jim Hilty, here, and I know distinguished because I've known him for a long time, who has been watching these events for a long time. What do you think the Republicans have to do to get John McCain elected. This is a very critical convention, although some people are not showing up because their kids are going back to school and things like that. It is right after Labor Day, might have a higher viewing audience than the Democratic convention, which was the last week of the summer season. What do you think they have to do?
Well, it reminds me a lot of 1960 and the problems that Richard Nixon had, and that he had to defend the Eisenhower administration, those 8 years. He's got to both run with it and he's got to run against it. It's very difficult for McCain to do, to separate himself entirely from Bush, because all the polls are showing that there's somewhere around a 24-25% Republican base that he's got to play to. And so his job is essentially to distinguish himself, both in terms of domestic and international
Has he done a good job so far this year of doing that?
There's been a lot of Me Tooism, and so far he hasn't really stepped aside. I think he tried to step over the line in the Georgian conflict when he, in effect, tried to mediate almost as an international settler and broker. He's got some problems, in other words, in distinguishing himself from Bush. The disapproval ratings, he has to worry about, that is to say that he's got to worry that they don't rub off on him, and that the very high disapproval ratings of the Bush administration in general. There have been some changes, and just in the last couple of days, of course, this negotiation of a timeline for a withdrawal in Iraq plays actually to his favor, and the economy is starting to steady a little bit, at least through the Dow Jones and other indicators.
Mike, one quick question for you on the situation with President Bush and Vice President Cheney. I think that McCain has done a pretty decent job of separating himself. A lot of people don't. Nevertheless, this is the first time that a sitting president has had public opinion polls, performance and office approval at about 30% for years, not just for a few months. How do the young Republicans, you've been so involved with them over the years, get people to walk away the independents from a guy like Obama who has so much charisma and so much youth and vitality?
Well, the election is between Senator McCain and Senator Obama. I appreciate the fact that President Bush's poll numbers could be higher, but I think a lot of that will depend on how the situation in Iraq settles over the next 5, 10, 20 years. Perhaps we'll have a different view of President Bush's legacy at that time. But again, this election is between Senator McCain and Senator Obama. And it's the difference between independence and a difference of experience. I think on both of those issues, Senator McCain does a lot better and runs a lot stronger in the polls than Senator Obama does. And that's why I think a lot of young Republicans and McCain supporters are increasingly hopeful about this election.
We'll get Sean Smith's view on that right after this, as Voice of Reason Republican National Convention preview continues on the Comcast Network, the only regional network in the nation to offer primetime coverage of the Republican National Convention.